evening, Dave. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad, Ed. Not bad.
Good. Right, we have some fixtures taking place tomorrow. Not a full list by any means, but North 1 West, we have Douglas at home. They're kicking off at 2:15 against Stockport.
Yeah, and just looking at the league table, Ed, it's 5th against 6th. There's only a couple of points separating them, but those three sides at the top of this table, Vale of Lune, Firwood, Waterloo and Northwich, possibly even Blackburn as well, just starting to creep away now. There's a little gap starting to open up from what was a very congested midfield. Douglas have played more games than anybody else, and they really do need to pick up some points. They played Stockport away. They lost by a point, 17-16, I think it was, if my memory serves me correctly. And at the time, that was a pretty good result for Douglas on the road. Stockport were second, I think, at the time. And Douglas pulled off a bit of a shock result there. So the writing on the wall, I guess, is suggesting that with home advantage, Douglas could well pick up some points here. Their form's not been brilliant of late, but they're still in the mix, and they still potentially could finish in the top 2. That might be a big ask, but they look to be on course for a top 5, and home advantage should give them a little bit of a boost. It is, I said, looking very tight in that midfield. There's probably down to Warrington in 9th place are all still in the mix pretty much. The points gap isn't very large, and Douglas really need to kick on. Much will depend on the strength of the squad, and I've had no news out of Portishead this week, which I don't know whether that's a good sign or a bad. I'm going to take it as good. Carl Murray's been out for a little while, since just before Christmas, and his return to the squad would be a massive boost for them if he's available. He picked up a bang on the knee in the opening minutes of a game against Altrincham Kersal that was played down at Ramsey the snow weekend, 9th of December there and thereabouts, and he's not played since, and he really does help them out in midfield, both with attacking options and giving a bit of defensive solidity as well. Great organiser in there and pulls everybody along with him. If Carl's back for this game, Stockport will be in a little bit of danger there, because he really does make the plays for Douglas. But outside of that, they're pretty strong in the front 5. They're pretty strong in the back row. They've got loads of pace outside. There's Nick Brooker, great set of wheels on him, whether he's at full-back or wing. Ground at Portishead can be a little bit soft. I've not had a look at it for a couple of weeks. I might just stick my head in tomorrow on my way down to Castletown for the game I'm covering, just to have a look and see what the pitch condition's like, because it has been holding a lot of water. They've had to move a couple of games because of it, and things haven't been that bad this week, and as Tony was saying, the pitches are starting to dry a little bit with the wind that we've had. I guess it'll be down to what gets dropped on it tonight, really, to see how it plays. But I think Douglas with home advantage, I'm backing them to take some points off Stockport.
Moving into South Lancashire, Cheshire Division 2, a name which it's quite a glorious past, really. Orrell, they are hosting Vagabonds, so a trip away for Vaggers. It's not been the easiest of seasons for them so far, but there has been shoots of recovery here and there in the last few weeks, I think, hasn't there?
Yeah, there has, but I'm just looking at the numbers, and they've played 17. That means they've got 9 games left. They are 17 points away from safety, and that equation's going to tighten and tighten and tighten. And I think it was after week 1 of the season, I was admonished for my press report that it looked to be a daunting season for Vagabonds. Somebody accused me of writing them off before the season had started. And I said, well, you've got to call it like it is. They were poor towards the end of last season. They had a lot of senior players retire. That's carried on this season. There are, as you say, some shoots of encouragement. They had a great result against Port Sunlight. Aldershot are coming here in a couple of weeks' time. They're just above Vaggers in the table with a very similar playing record, or not too dissimilar. And there's still opportunities for them to pick up points, but I can't see anywhere where 17 points are coming from to get them up that margin for safety. And of course, there's a danger that Port Sunlight and Aldershot, the two sides that are down there in the mire a little bit with them, there's always a danger that one of them picks up points. I think if Port Sunlight have a home fixture against Aldershot, that's going to give them 4 or 5 points. So it isn't looking very hopeful for Vagabonds to survive the end of this season. I suspect Orrell, they're not going to come back with any points. If they can get within 7, that would be another good sign of those shoots that you've spoken about there, the there's signs of encouragement that the squad is starting to play together. But they've had a couple of senior players come back in. Kevin Birchall, Rob Martin's been there pretty much all the way through, and Ross Pullman as well gives them some great options in the back row. And if those guys can just help gel those youngsters together, I don't think they're going to pull that 17 points back, but I do think they should be in fair shape for challenging to come back up at the start of next season if they can just hold things together. But tomorrow against Orrell, no, I don't think so. I think Orrell are going to take maximum points.
I think maybe, do you get to this sort of the stage of a season where you go, well, it looks likely that we're going to go down. You're already starting to think about next season, consolidating the team that you've got, keeping everyone together, and hoping that you can, like you say, bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the management and coaching should be thinking at Vagabonds, and I'm sure that they are. There's only a certain amount of... I'm not going to say hiding, because that sounds like they've been hiding. They haven't. They've been fronting up, and Rob Martin's come up here and interview with Chris Cave to explain what's going on behind the scenes. So there's no hiding from them. But the management can't ignore the fact that they're in the position where they're in with the record that they've got, and I'm sure that they'll be working very, very hard, because nobody likes to have those big scores put against you, and they're a very proud bunch there. They'll want to come back, and from talking to some of the senior club members, I'm sure they will be back as well.
Indeed. Well, we certainly hope so. South Lancashire, Cheshire Division 3 South. This is a 1 o'clock kickoff. Ramsey are away at Mosley Hill.
Yes, the slate's wiped clean. We have a new league, and everybody starts from zero again. So it feels a little bit like the start of the season. We didn't like the league structure. I still don't like it now, but it is what it is. Ramsey now have 8 fixtures to play in this new league. They've got some old faces from the previous league. That's Mosley Hill, Oxton Parkonians, Ellesmere Port and Birchfield. But also got 4 new sides that have come in from the sister league. So Old Bedians, Eagle, Garstang and Ormskirk. Garstang are here for the first time in, I think it's 3rd of March, and I suspect, I'm going from memory now, I think it's Old Bedians next week at the Merrick, in 2 weeks at the Merrick Park. But that's all done. The slate's wiped clean. Mosley Hill, tough ask. It's a small pitch. It is a very heavy pitch. Mosley Hill did Ramsey home and away in the earlier part of the league, and Ramsey going to have to work very, very hard to get anything out of this game. What I have seen, though, is towards the tail end of Phase 1 of this league, a couple of away defeats at the 2 leading sides, Ellesmere Port and Birchfield, which were much closer than I thought they were going to be. That suggests that Ramsey are just starting to up the ante a little bit. There's a couple of injured players who've been out long-term come back in. Anthony Ferguson was back last week. He's been out for the season so far. And Scott Neal back on the bench this week, and he's been out injured since October. So a couple of the guys starting to come back in. Maybe things will just click for them. It's a small pitch. It's a heavy pitch, as I said. And I suspect Ramsey, the team that's gone away, is not too dissimilar to the one that lost 34-10 away at Mosley Hill just before Christmas. The guys are going to have to work a little bit harder, but I think they're in a much better place than they were then, even though there's a short space of time elapsed. And I think they could be competitive, but I've got fingers crossed for a good result. But on paper, you've got to say Mosley Hill should take maximum points.
And just give us a quick reminder of what has happened with the league, Dave, the structure and how it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, we started with South Lancashire, Cheshire Division 3 South, and there was a sister league, Division 3 North. There were too many teams for one league and not quite enough for 2. So we had 9 teams in Division 3 South and 8 teams in Division 3 North. And at the conclusion of the home and away fixtures that played just in the normal way, the top 5 from Division 3 South and the top 4 from Division 3 North form a new league, and you only play each other once, home or away. A matrix has been done, and Ramsey have 4 fixtures against the teams from North who've come in. They're all at the Merrick Park, and the 4 teams from South who have moved across, they're all away matches. So Ramsey will have to travel to Ellesmere Port, Birchfield, Parkonians and Mosley Hill. In theory, the game should all be of a similar standard. There shouldn't be any big results in there, so that's what everybody's ideal. There's no mismatches in there in playing terms, and the results will be what you get on the pitch. I think in the earlier part there were mismatches, The likes of Wallasey were struggling, and I think North Manchester and Bury were struggling in the other league as well. And there were some very, very big scores. I think Mosley Hill put 110 points past Christleton in Division 3 South, for example. So we shouldn't see any scorelines like that. But they'll all be tough games, though. There won't be any easy ones where you can afford to take your foot off the gas and run in a few new players. The top 2 will be promoted, so there's plenty of opportunity there for Ramsey for a top 2 finish. They've got to win their homes and try and pick up some points on the road. And Mosley Hill, well, it's an opportunity. They weren't the best in the first phase of the league, but they have won at the Merrick Park as well. So they look to be a strong lineup, and nice bunch of guys, but very tough to play against, particularly on their small muddy pitch. But they out-Ramseyed Ramsey when they came to the Merrick, so they can play the fast and loose game as well. So they've got a little bit of everything, and that's why it'll be tricky.
All right, thanks very much, Dave. We'll turn our attentions to the Shimon Walsh and Manx Shield in the lunchtime preview programme tomorrow, and that's the match that you're going to tomorrow, isn't it? So Western Vikings against Emerging Nomads at Poulson Park. We'll be taking a look at that tomorrow lunchtime.